Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Innovate and Conversate Live Edition. So first, allow me to start by saying that this event is hosted by ICCons, a one-of-a-kind organization that champions a community-first approach where collaboration, mentorship, and knowledge continue long after each event ends. This event is also sponsored by Inflexion, an SAP Gold partner for the MENA region, and the forefront of digital transformation when it comes to delivering AI-powered solutions across the MENA region. So I'm Jana Hayoub, I'm the Success and Growth Manager at Inflexion, and the host of this very special podcast series, Innovate and Conversate, and your MC for today. And I couldn't be more happier to see this platform come to life right here in the UAE. So before we get into today's agenda, I'll just give you 2 minutes to scan this QR code so that you can look up our channel and subscribe to be updated when we release our season 2 series of Innovate and Conversate. So Innovate and Conversate was born to spark bold conversations that lead to real change. And today it's no longer just a voice, it's a movement. Whether in Lebanon, in Oman, or in the UAE, the mission remains the same. Bring together business people, leaders, thinkers, and doers that talk about what truly matters, which is transformation, leadership, innovation, and growth. Today's lineup is one of our strongest yet. You'll be hearing from our remarkable individuals who not only lead change, but are living it. And more importantly, they're here to share, connect, and grow. So today we're gonna begin with an opening inspiration by Monica, our youngest guest, who is the winner of the Zayed Sustainability Award for 2025. Then we're going to move to our keynote addressed by Mr. Ajay Prasad, Director of Pre-Sales and Projects at Inflexion. Following that, we'll be kicking off panel 1, moderated by Ms. Debbie, Executive Director of Diamond Cut Leadership Network, and she'll be joined by an exceptional panel, Mr. Adel, Group Head of IT at Epix, Ms. Aisha Abdel Qadir, Certified Leadership and Positive Intelligence Coach, Mr. Deepu, Chief Inspiration Leader and Founder of Lead On, Ms. Anna, CEO of Sander UAE, and Ms. Hannah, Founder and Managing Principal of Kaleidoscope DEI Consulting. After that, we're going to take a quick 15 minutes break, and we're going to be moving to panel 2, also moderated by Ms. Debbie, and this time joined by Ms. Jessie Abraham, CEO of Thrive, Mr. Kashif Siddiqui, Customer Experience Solution Expert, Mr. Mubarak Hussain, IT Director at Distinguished Real Estate, Mr. Ahmed Atiyeh, Group Supply Chain Director at Zahrawi Group. From there, we're going to be heading into our trophy distribution ceremony, honoring our special guests. And finally, we're going to head to dinner and networking. So without further ado, please help me welcome Ms. Monica.
Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. As you probably already know, I'm Monica, and around this time last year, I had suddenly realized that my project deadline was in 2 weeks. At the time, I had a very not so small problem. I didn't have a project idea yet. What I did have were questions. I had questions about the erratic nature of our climate and about how poor ventilation affects students. And within all of these questions, I found my big idea. Right? So for those 2 weeks, I spent what seemed to be like every waking moment, researching, building models, just maximizing my computer processor any way I could find. And at the time, I'll be honest, I didn't entirely think that I was gonna win, but I did know that my idea was a good one. And sometimes I think that that belief is enough to keep you going. It's enough to take you far and long enough And it's taken me far enough to stand today before you all and be able to tell you that, yes, I high-fived the President of the United Arab Emirates. Right? So I think that my takeaway from all this is that I knew that most rooms weren't built for me, and I also knew that not all doors would just open for me. But I did know that I could deconstruct them and I could rebuild them in a way that saw my own vision. A vision that can possibly help build a better world for all of us someday. Thank you.
So thank you, Monica. This truly means that age is no barrier to any impact. Next, we're going to be hearing from our keynote. Please welcome Mr. Ajay Prasad, Director of Pre-Sales and Projects at Inflexion.
Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Thank you all, first and foremost, for joining us, taking your time off to meet us, as well as gather around here. And thank you for all the panelists who are going to be speaking on stage today along with us. It's a great honor to have all of you all here in the same room. And it's a hard act to follow when you have the youngest person in the room. I consider her a prodigy with the idea that she came up with to follow. But I'll try my level best to keep you all engaged for the next 10 minutes. And then we have a lot of interactive sessions from the panelists who are esteemed colleagues of ours and have led multiple organizations and continue to lead multiple organizations as well, and would be able to share a whole lot of knowledge and insight while the discussion is going on. And as the theme of the day is, we are going to have a conversation. I believe you should have a conversation with all of us, and hopefully we should be able to learn from each other. Right? So that's basically what the aim was. And I was just thinking to myself, when we actually started this whole Innovate and Conversate channel, it was an idea where we said, we as an organization, by the way, I represent Inflexion, so we are the company that's sponsoring this event, and we are a technology partner, as Jana has already introduced you to us, right? So, but we did not want to just do technology. So our punchline is transformation and enabling transformations. So we felt that technology is an enabler, but it's not the only aspect that enables transformations for businesses and for growth, essentially, right? So we said, what could we do better in order to move away and still stay on theme? So that's where the conversation aspect of it came in, and that's where the innovation aspect of it came in. And we said, it was the marketing team that came up with this brilliant idea of doing podcasts and said, let's have podcasts happening every week. And we will invite various leaders and thought leaders in their field in order to share their knowledge and wisdom over the period of these podcasts. And then we said, should we have the podcast for an hour, for 45 minutes, 30 minutes, or 15 minutes? What should be the length of the duration? So we said, we would like to engage not only with our generation, and in this room we see a whole lot of generation which is there. So we said, our generation had a lot of patience. I say that because I just realized that I'm growing older, and I felt that we need to also address a younger generation. So the younger generation has a smaller attention span, and hence we felt, let's go the mid path and keep these podcasts for 15 minutes. And that's where we said, let's keep it at around 15 to 20 minutes. And that's how we ended up having these podcasts. And all thanks to Jenna, who takes the trouble of bringing up the topics, inviting the speakers, as well as host and recording these podcasts, producing them. Trust me, it's not an easy job to do, right? And we've been able to do this at a pace. And we have probably published 24 of them at this moment of time. And before I could prepare, well, to be honest, I didn't prepare for this speech. I was just told that I need to deliver the keynote, and then I said, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. So let me go and look at our YouTube channel. Luckily, he gave me access to the administrative page, and I realized that at the beginning of the YouTube channel that we created for Inflexion, we had organically just 10 subscribers. And I still remember the day when I called up my parents, I called up my friends, and I called up all the colleagues who work with us and asked them to subscribe because we wanted to cross that magic mark of 100, right? So what happens when you cross the mark of 100? We get to choose the name of the channel in the URL. So if you see the URL, it says youtube.com/Inflexiontech. So we reached that 100 milestone and then we said, okay, let's see how it goes about. And today, organically, we've grown to about 500 subscribers and 26 odd subscribers in a day on an average. And we have a large viewership as well, and the viewership has grown tremendously. And all of this is organic. So all thanks to you all as well for taking the time off in your busy schedules to also come and share the knowledge, not only when we produce the podcast, but also to be here today to be able to share and get the knowledge as well, right? So, and then we said, who better to start the event than a young prodigy who has come up with a very innovative idea. And I was hoping that she will detail on that idea today. And if you have already not seen her podcast, she came up with an idea which essentially helps in sustainability. There again, we're talking about innovation, but not necessarily the digital innovation, but at the same time, innovation nevertheless, right? So, you're not able to hear me?
No, I'm saying if you want her to attend some questions.
Absolutely. We would love to have Monica back on stage. I'm sure people are eager to ask her questions. I am definitely eager to ask her the questions myself. And also, I would like to share the fact that Monica happens to be our senior project manager's doctor. So I have seen her, the first time that I saw her, she was just 4 years old. And to see her on the stage, to see her high-five the president, it was as if it was my own daughter who was doing it. It was a moment of pride and joy for all of us at the organization. We celebrated it thoroughly as well. So Monica came up with a very unique idea, and I think Monica, it's time that you shared with the audience what the idea was. Before you do that, how many of you all, by raise of hands, are interested in listening to what her idea was? Well, I never doubted that all of you will raise your hands, but I just wanted to keep it interactive. So, go ahead, Monica, please.
Yeah, so my idea was the carbon sponge, and around January last year, I entered a business pitching competition in Dubai, and I started with the idea of AlgaFix. So we never have our projects ready on time, like 2 weeks before competitions, we'll start building them up. And I was researching different ideas, and among them, I found out about algae's power of carbon offsetting. What it does is, it absorbs carbon dioxide, and it uses it for its natural processes, like dividing and making more algae, as well as giving out oxygen, right? So we entered the competition, we made it to the finals, and then the judges told us, and I quote, that our pitch was perfect, but they could not give us a prize because it was too scientific. Too scientific. I was going to show them what was too scientific, right? And I spent my spring break and a couple of weeks in my summer break, and I was developing the idea. But there was a very big problem. I can't build a 1,000-liter tank in everyone's house. It's not possible, right? So there was a lot of roadblocks, and I was like, okay, how do I decentralize, right? And that's when the idea of the tile came up. It was obviously very weird putting algae in a tile. How is the algae going to grow? How is the algae going to live? How am I going to put this tile on the wall? There's a lot of questions, right? So, I started learning a couple of softwares and building models, and I was also, very, very enthusiastically Googling resources I could use. And so I was able to build kind of a prototype of the tile, and I thought, okay, it's good enough, and I submitted it. And then in about October, I get called to the principal's office, right? And she asks me, did you submit this project? And I'm like, yeah, I did, right? So she asked me what it's about, and she tells me that she got an email, and I'm a finalist, one of 6,000 in the region, and that we're going to have to build this in school. They never told me that. They never told me I had to build it. So, it was a bit of a head scratcher, where we were going to get all the industrial materials and everything, but my school was pretty cooperative, and, I stayed back in school a couple of weeks, and I also went to school on Sundays, and we assembled a little team of people, and we started building these tiles, right? And this was kind of a very long process with a lot of roadblocks. Everyone had a different opinion about it. They wanted to put a lot of things in it, which I wasn't entirely open to, but we did end up, making a couple of tiles. We had a wall in my school, and we sent in our submission, right? And in January, we find out that the submission won. Yeah. So, other questions?
And all this, when we were generally discussing, and we were having a conversation, and we have children of almost a similar kind of an age group, and as parents we aspire to know what our kids are looking at doing. So I was talking to Bhupesh, and I asked him, what is Monica planning to do? And this is all before all this happened, right? So she said she wants to be a lawyer, and she wants to do legal. I said, okay, great, amazing. And then all of a sudden he comes and he tells me, I need time off. I said, why? He says, I want to go and see my daughter most probably receive the sustainable award. I said, you told me she wants to be a lawyer, and she's going in for a sustainability award. Oh, that's amazing. So, turn of events, I'm sure now Monica has something to add.
Something?
Yes, sure.
I wanted to be a lawyer like 4 years ago, and then until maybe a year and a half or so, I wanted to be a doctor, and now I'm looking at finance. So I don't think that anything's confirmed yet. I still have like 2 months until I have to choose my AS level subjects.
A lawyer is good.
So that's the journey of Monica, and it is something that we wanted to share, and we found the right platform to do it. And the moment, had she not won as well, we would have invited her on the platform just to give the feel of what innovation means and how it is in order to innovate. So it's not just technology, although she used a lot of technology in getting where she wanted to go, but it's not just technology, it's always a lot of other innovations that we look at, and there is a lot of transformation that happens, right? So that's a pure good story of Monica, and we felt that she needed to be at the center of it all. And when I tell you that she has the most number of views of videos among all the panelists, I know we all envy that, but she deserves it, I guess. So, Madam, you had a question, yeah.
So I just have a question for Monica.
Sorry, Jana will bring you a mic. Jana is very kind, Jana is an all-rounder for us.
So I just really brilliant presentation of your project. I just want to know what inspired you to get to that project, that idea. What was the inspiration?
Honestly, it started off as a Google search. I didn't have an idea, and I had the project, yeah. So it started off as a Google search, and between making a platform for buying groceries from your house, and what I think was like an upgraded version of making a LinkedIn. This seemed like the best idea at the time, right? But how the algae functioned and the entire concept I found really interesting. So I guess that's where that started.
Congratulations, mashallah. At your age, the biggest innovation I did was store my comics differently. So, very impressive. Throughout the whole journey, the whole process, from the idea to the end to everything, what would you say was the one thing you learned that you think, yeah, this is cool, I can really use this learning that I've got now? It doesn't have to be technical or scientific, but the way you did stuff, or did you find anything out about yourself that you thought, hey, I can do this is great?
Yeah, well, I told you all about the first competition that I entered, and even before that, with a lot of similar ideas, we'd always get really, really close to, winning something, and then we wouldn't, right? And that happened for a similar concept, I think, like 3 times before the prize. And, every time we kept reusing the same project, even though our peers, they came up with new ideas each time. And it kind of felt like a dead end, that we weren't making anything new, and that's why we weren't winning. But I think that if you put enough time and effort into something, you can make something out of it, even if it doesn't work out the first couple of times.
Words of wisdom, I guess, Mr. Music to the ears.
Music to the ears. I've still got my comics, by the way. Huh?
Right. So, again, I would like to thank Monica, and she did really take a lot of time off and come and join us for this particular event. And I would also like to take leave from all of you. Thank you again for hearing me out. And I believe it's on to the next part of the event where we have the first panelist, and Jenna is going to welcome you on stage as well. Thank you, everybody, and thank you again for taking time to come.
Thank you, Mr. Ajay, and thank you, Monica, again. Next, we'll be hearing from our first panel, led by Ms. Debbie Bernard. So please, everyone, welcome Debbie on stage.
So, testing, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good, good. So, I'm vertically challenged, short, but we're going to allow the panelists to be on the top, and it allows me to walk around from here. So those at the back, occasionally I'll wave at you so that you'll know I'm still standing here. So this is a difficult job that they've given me because the 4 people that I'm going to invite on stage, they're indeed incredible. And so it's a hard job when you have 4 incredible people that have really deep insights into innovation and transformation and technology. Okay, so they tell me move to this area. So to really keep something flowing, but I'm going to give it my best try, because I'm going to tell you, Monica has sort of lifted me out of my centering. Because I was all ready to do this, but that young lady is so inspirational. I wish that the wisdom that is flowing from her body, that I even had it at 50. She's so clear, so intentional, so purposeful, that she sent me off into reflecting on, what are you doing with your life right now? So, Mr. Adel, Aisha, Deepu, Hannah, and Anna, please come to the stage. This particular panel, we're going to dig into 3 areas: cultural shift in a digital age, operational resilience and innovation, and empathy and people-centric leadership. Now I'm going to ask them, you've heard their names, you know their titles. Now I'm going to ask them to dig a little bit deeper and introduce themselves. And as we were doing the prepping, I said to them, by the time you're finished, your challenge is that I want to have every audience member leaning in. So I challenge them to engage you by what they use to introduce themselves. So, everybody remember the twist? Got it? Got it? Okay.
Start with there. No, I'll be the worst because I haven't got it fully. Let's start in the middle. No.
So, Adel, go ahead.
What?
One bold idea.
Yeah.
And why should we listen to you?
Yeah. Okay. Hi.
Hello.
My name is Adil. I'm Group Head of IT at Apex Investments. We're a company with a large number of businesses, and we do embrace innovation, thank God, otherwise I wouldn't have a job. So I'm pleased about that, thank you. One bold idea?
Mm-hmm.
The bold idea is embrace the change. Don't be scared. Like really don't be scared. What I mean by that is the decision makers will know they want a solution of some kind, a transformation or a change. And if you're involved in that activity, be brave, be honest, bring your people with you, but don't be scared of change. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. You can't keep swimming against the current. You'll only get tired and it'll take you under. Go with it and make it work for you and your people, your organization, and just be as open as you can. Embrace the change. And why you should listen to me is because I got the microphone. Okay?
That's good for a start.
Hello everyone, my name is Aisha. I'm the father. So I'm a certified coach, leadership coach, and positive intelligence coach and trainer. I work with leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, and help them to boost their self-awareness and have healthy relationships, reach to their peak performance, and have inner peace, I would say. So the whole idea, it's about the change as well. And I would say that change, as my colleague said, is inevitable. It's something, it's constant thing that you cannot neglect it, you cannot avoid it. It will happen definitely. And the easiest way is to accept it. Rejection is so hard, but when you accept the change and go through it, I guarantee that you will pass through it with more wisdom and self-awareness, as I said. And one more point about the organization is that co-create the change with your employees, because it will help you to, it will benefit a lot. And we are going to talk about it more in the coming up questions. Thank you.
All right. Vipu is the name. We call it Lead On, the organization which I support. There are other things I do, which we can talk later during networking. But what I do is I lead young minds and old minds to find the leader within themselves, to find their place within themselves, where they know that change happens from inside. So that's why we're here. I've got some amazing people sitting next to me. And when they speak, what you're going to hear today is how that change really means that you change. You don't stay the same. What's the biggest thing that's coming out? All of you heard AI, right? And one day you'll say, I want to hear anything more about it. But the fact is, there's no escaping it. Coaching, leadership is all going to change. If we do not know AI and how it's going to affect us, we better start learning it now. Finally, why should you listen to me? I love Michael Jackson.
Oh.
That's why I wear white and black. Okay, not a good reason, I know. All right.
Do that.
But the reason you need to listen is that I'm changing every day. I have to. We can't stay the same. The moment we decide we want to stay the same, there is something wrong. But change doesn't mean that you are deprived of life, but change means you're growing. So I hope by the end of this panel discussion, what beautiful people tell you and what I share starts change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very hard act to follow. Very inspirational things have been said. Debbie, the question is great because it forces us to sort of do a little bit of crystal gazing as well. Think about the workplaces of the future. So I'll start with the easy part, which you covered already, but my name is Hannah. In my current role, I work with business leaders, people leaders, and use their HR policies as tools for growth to create high-performing cultures where people thrive and are able to achieve their true potential and be more productive at work. And we do this through operationalizing their organizational values, their D&I values into actionable strategies. So what is that one bold shift that companies need to make to get that competitive edge going forward and creating the workplaces of the future? I think is to reimagine the role of HR, human resources, as not just an administrative function or department, but as a true strategic partner. because as more and more organizations realize, people are their true and biggest and most precious assets. So like Debbie said, we're going to talk about people-centric approaches. So I think that's what the future looks like for companies going forward. And if you really look at it, HR is sitting on a gold mine of data, from onboarding experiences to performance data to exit interviews to diversity data, and companies are not really accessing this data in a meaningful way. So if we can help leaders unlock the potential of this data through and build predictive strategies for the future, then we're creating those workplaces and those employee experiences where people are able to thrive. Because if you're not investing and designing workplaces where your people are thriving, then you're quietly holding your business back.
Let me say, last but not the least, all my life I wanted to be a singer. When you shared that, I wanted to be a lawyer, and then finally I was thinking like, oh, I will have a microphone. Okay, so I'm Anna Stanisic, I'm CEO of Sandler. Basically I brought the Sandler to the Middle East. Sandler is American global company, the biggest company in the world for providing the sales training, the leadership training, and business coaching. So what we do, we work with entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small to medium enterprise, helping them to really transform how their growth looks like, helping them in 2-3 years or some less period, some longer period to double, triple, or even more their revenue. One bold idea or breakthrough thing that I want to share, I fully agree, and you share really inspiring things about a change, and definitely it's something important. And I was thinking about it, and it's very hard to pick up only one, but beside that, I fully agree what you said, is that be a leader that you wanted to have when you started. And don't be a leader who has a happy ear. So many times in so many organizations, I saw that the leaders have a happy ears. So they basically are cutting the room for honesty and truth. And when it is happening, then people are giving white lies and somehow nothing is going in the right direction. So be someone that next to whom your people will become really a better one, professionally and personally. Not leader by authority, by rule, but whatever you are. Be leader by heart. So this is one very important thing that I would like to note. And the second thing is that at the end of the day, all of us have 2 decisions to make every day. And it's 2 pains. It's pain of growth, right? Or pain of change, or pain of regret. So both of them are not easy. Staying there, stuck, maybe, where you're now, being not happy, wanting to achieve something more, it's painful, right? But as well, it's painful to making a progress and doing a change. So just be wisely.
Thanks. So the reason why I started off with asking the panelists to give us a bold idea is that you could be doing almost anything this afternoon, but you chose to be here. So the intention, as a speaker or as a moderator, I always feel that the gift that we should give you is imagine that you get a pearl at intervals throughout the panel discussions, so that you feel deep inside it was worth it to show up this afternoon, except for the dinner, right? It was worth it to show up. Now, I do 2 things. I do coaching with leaders, but I'm also in the healthcare space, and internationally, I've worked in the transformation of healthcare organizations. And one of the things that we know in healthcare and other industries, we talk a good game. There's science, and we go to conferences, and we we learn all of this stuff, and we go back to our workplaces, and we do absolutely nothing with the information. So my first general question for the panelists, and for today, we actually want to hear some stuff, share some stuff that we can actually take back, either use in our personal lives or in our companies, because the majority of you are in the room are leaders. And so we're here to grow ourselves so that we can have impact to those that we get the privilege of leading. So the first question, general question, so anybody can jump in. There's a term that we use that says culture eats strategy for breakfast. So to bring that down, it says we come up with these great visionary documents and absolutely nothing happens. Because the organization that you take it in, you can't make it happen. So how do you practically shift an organization's mindset, no matter what the industry, to enable them? And we're talking a lot, because we're with Inflexion, who's our sponsor. A lot of the people in this room are in tech or tech-related spaces. So how do you practically shift an organization that they can actually use all this good stuff? See, eager panelists. So there's.
In my opinion, if we understand the organization mindset, it will help us to go through the transformation. And in my opinion, the organization mindset is collective mindset of employees. If we understand that, plus understand the psychology of transformation and change, we can implement effective strategies. Change is stressful, it's ambiguous, people feel that there is uncertainty. If we bring safety to the space, plus support, we can, and also authenticity and clarity, it is very important. From the beginning of the change process, having clarity and authenticity and engaging the employees brings trust to the space, and when there is trust, the resistance will be lower, and at the end of the day, we can have successful transformation in the organization.
Debbie, can I go? You know, because I want to build up on what you said, and I love this quote: "Culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner." But I think, in my experience, I would go a bit further and say that culture is the strategy. So building a culture of trust and accountability, no matter what the change or the transformation that you're hoping for, whether it's a digital transformation, whether it's a structural change, or in our case where you're using D&I values and operationalizing them in your talent acquisition strategy, for example, you already need a culture of trust and accountability in place for that to land and stick. And I think there's various ways in which leadership can create that culture of trust, and I think there has to be a framework in place that any change goes through. And I think starting with a compelling story about why this change matters, and then linking it to your overall purpose of the organization and the common goal that you share with your employees is important. So that story needs to be there. And then you need to have forums already in place, opportunities where you are having this two-way dialogue, where the leadership is able to convey their why to the employees, but you're also inviting the employees to share what their concerns and their opinions are, because at the end of the day, they're going to be going through that change. So that forum has to be there, like you said, it has to be a safe space where there's no fear of consequences, so that they feel this collaborative way is that they're doing it with you rather than it's being done to them. And then obviously within that framework, you need to build in all your processes, your internal communications, your leadership behavior, your reward and recognition should all be linked to the values that you're trying to bring in through that change. And lastly, I think within the framework, which is a phased out framework for this change, you need to build in measurement, accountability, and reassessment, so that you show that you're committed to the change, but you're willing to make changes within the change as well. So I think culture has to be the blueprint for any change to land within an organization.
So one more.
Yeah, if I can just add shortly, is that I will just set it back to basic, and what is a culture? So what does mean culture for you? So culture, it's not Fridays, pizzas, gym memberships, going on lunch, network. It's not. Culture is how your employees feel on Sunday night, because tomorrow it's a Monday and they need to come to work. Culture is will they feel enough capable and confident to come to you and say,
purchasing or bringing in some tech. So tech runs fast, people can lag behind. So leaders like you have emphasized empathy with agility. What specific steps do you take to prepare teams emotionally and intellectually for change, to do this transformation?
I've been very lucky, because I'm old, to have done a lot of change programs at many various scales. When you talk about getting people prepared and emotionally ready, it's really, it sort of ties in with the culture as well. One of my favorite academic definitions of culture is what people do when no one's watching. I love that. So it's about understanding the culture, but you have to understand what the objective is. Because you can't really support or help somebody if you don't know why you're doing this thing. So it can't be, we need AI. Why? Because they've got it. You need to know what the problem statement is. You need to validate the problem statement. You need to understand it yourself from the top down. So if you because every level will have a different reason or a different way of getting their buy-in to it. Like the board will want the numbers. So does it align with the 5-year strategic goal plan, whatever? The C-suite will want to know how their business area will contribute towards the bigger strategy that the board expects, how they're going to deliver it. The leadership team below that are going to want to know, do I have the right resources and the competencies to actually deliver, and are these expectations achievable? The team leaders and the groups will want to know, well, how are we going to get support through this? So what I've done in various implementations when I was doing the Terminal 5 at Heathrow, I was in the build, one of the transformation program managers there. I worked from the board all the way down to the shift starts, briefing sessions for all of ground crew, ground transport, everybody. That was tough going, but it was good fun. And I would explain at the team meeting level what their purpose was, how they fitted into the solution, what they will be bringing to the table. But I would do that based on what their team leaders told me was important for the groups. It's like everything. If you think there's something in it for you, you'll be more engaged with it. And if you know the purpose or the reason for doing it, you're going to do it anyway. It's a job at the end of the day, right? But giving clarity and giving support, making sure, and you guys are much better at this than know more than I do, but supporting your people, understanding the gaps in their competencies, and either upskilling them. And not everybody wants to join that journey, not everybody wants to be on the ride, and that's okay. They might be happier doing other things,
Yeah.
and supporting them through that, so that's it.
So, amazing advice. Hold your thought, because I want to ask the audience a question. So those of you that have businesses that run 24 hours a day, or have multiple shifts, when is the last time you've gone on second shift or third shift or popped up on the weekend to see what your operations look like? So you're not going to answer. I just want you to reflect. In my current job, this week we were talking about looking at a certain process. So our team is all about leading transformation. And we were talking about a process that starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. And when I said, okay, we need to start there, my colleagues looked at me as if I had two heads. Like 7 o'clock in the morning, you're actually expecting me to show up at the organization. And I'm like, we sit in the big corporate office. We're gonna try to fix the process that we know absolutely nothing about and send out edicts because we don't wanna go. So this is what Adele is saying. We don't wanna go to where the work happens. So another reflective question for you. If you run a business that is not just 9 to 5 when you're in the office with the people and your customers, but you actually have 24-hour flow, when is the last time you've ever gone? Why is that so important? Remember one of our panelists says, culture is what we do when no one is watching. So when all the leaders only show up from 9 to 5, often the organization looks very different after hours or on the weekend. So thanks, Ash. Go ahead, Deepu.
No, so I think summarizing everything.
Yeah.
Right? Purpose, people, process. If your change management in your organization can be clearly articulated in these 3 areas, you can see how it works. Right? So let's take a simple example. An organization is putting up a new software. What's the purpose? Why does that software have to come into place? What is the resistance to that software? If you understand what makes them happy in a position of comfort, it's easier to change the resistance. You get what I'm saying? So when we're comfortable with something, we don't want to change. But the moment we say that if you change, it gets better, we show you that, and the process behind it, then the people become critical and part of it. So I'm just summarizing it. If you think about it, it's purpose, people, and process. If we have this very clear rather than complicated, then I think change happens along with the culture.
Okay. Thanks a lot. So now we're going to do some directed questions because we have this amazing experience. So Adel, Aisha, and Anna, let's talk a little bit about leading change across organization levels. Dig deep, and we want specific, no conceptual. What are some specific things that we can share with our C-suite or middle managers in the room that helps them in aligning their digital transformation with who they are? So Anna.
I think that the first thing is giving them a clear communication. What does that mean for them and how the process will look like? The first thing is that usually as humans, we don't like a change. We have naturally some resistance. Even maybe if we do that, we have some resistance because it's unknown for us. And especially people, usually the leaders, they see the vision, they see something on the horizon. People below them, they don't see that. So allowing them very clear communication. Hey, this is what will happen. This means for you, for your role, and this is how you will upgrade. So giving the people future themselves, how they will be more productive, more successful in their work. We're adapting the change.
So I would like to add as well is that C-suite level managers, because of the influence and impact that they have in the organization, we need to invite them to be the early adapters of the change in the organization, because their team members will be inspired and motivated by them.
Thank you. Early adopter.
Yeah, no, definitely. Actually, I'm just adding to what everyone's saying. The C-suite especially. If you don't give executive sponsorship to any transformation, you won't get the same level of buy-in from the people actually engaged in the change. If the teams or the users or the people involved in the change actually sees the C-suite level, the board level, excited, engaged, and actually curious about what you're bringing in, if they see that, then everybody will be more engaged. It's when there's a lack of executive sponsorship and the practical stuff that I tend to do is I start with the objective. I find out what the strategy is, what the objective is for the group, for the organization, and then you propose solutions that will help them to achieve it. Because again, if they believe that there's something in it for them and it will help them to get to their destination quicker, you kind of get the buy-in a lot faster as well. As human nature. And then once you've got that, you make it really clear what level of engagement you need. Scheduling meetings, scheduling regular communications, giving transparency, sticking with the risk, all the good old-fashioned project management disciplines I'm sure everybody is familiar with, but executive sponsorship is crucial.
Can I add one point as well? And that is the compassionate leadership. Because when we are in the change stage or phase, people may do mistakes, people may fail in certain tasks. But if there is room for flexibility and compassion, I think they will consider themselves as human beings, and that brings lots of motivation and inspiration for them to really adapt and decide to use the technology or the change that is implemented in the organization.
So compassionate leadership, and actually doing the things that we know. Because Adil and I were on a panel, I guess it was last year, and he said, these are the everyday, in his keynote, he said, these are the everyday things that we know. And one of the things that I talked to him about, yes, we know them. That's not the question. Because the majority of people in this room have advanced degrees, MBAs, etc. We know them, but do our employees actually see us practicing? Because that's the issue where we're having quiet quitting, the retention issues, etc. is because we know stuff, but often that's not what employees are experiencing. So that's the challenge of leadership, to actually close the gap between what you know and what we actually practice. So in a minute, I'm going to turn to a question that Hannah and Deepu are going to talk about as we start to flip to addressing that resistance even more. But at this point, and because I'm pre-warning you, at this point, after we've done this question, I'm going to turn back to the audience, and I want at least a few of you to have a question, a drill down question, something that they have said that you want to hear more of, or something that you want them to expand on. So you have pen and paper, let's use it, and we want to invite you into the conversation, right? So we're going to turn resistance, and often that's when you read papers that are published or you go to conferences, we're talking about how can we overcome. So can you share a time when frontline resistance, for example, with DEI initiatives or any sort of implementation, because Hannah's specialty is DEI, Deepu, you work in the technology space. Give us an example when you've been able to turn what appears to be resistance into a positive catalyst for change.
So, Debbie, resistance is, I think, when you're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging, when you bring that to an organization, resistance is our biggest challenge. Because there are people who want to maintain the status quo, they don't want disruptions, they don't want things to change, plus they think that what we're doing is nice to have, not something that is really imperative to the business, which we try to convince them otherwise. So we're in the business of changing hearts and minds. So one of the examples that I'd like to use is we were working with a client, the legal team of a commercial bank operating here in the UAE, and they were rolling out an employee engagement platform. The data was showing that not many people, not many employees were engaging with that platform, not many responses were coming up. I think around 25 to 30% employee engagement was seen on that platform. But whatever they were submitting, what was emerging was that there was team collaboration and sharing of knowledge that was missing. And so that's what we were called in to do, sort of strategize about how to improve team collaboration and build trust within the team. But when I saw the data and we realized that there is not engagement happening, we knew that there were some missing pieces that were not being highlighted. So we organized a design thinking session where we invited all the team members to come and talk about a broader issue, not just team collaboration, but talk about how do you improve your overall employee experience within the team. And a lot of things emerged from that. Psychological safety was an issue, not having enough forums to voice yourselves, access to leadership, even simple asks that were unheard or unaddressed, like ergonomic chairs or better desktops, etc. So a lot of things emerged from that session, so this resistance was not seen as a rejection for the platform by the leadership, and they leaned in and they took everything on board and redesigned the platform to see what they were asking, how they were asking, and then what they were doing as a follow-up to that. So then they started talking about what things they could do in a phased out manner, but also talk about the things they couldn't do, something that was not in the purview of the regional team and had to be taken up at the organizational level. So I think that just goes to show that resistance can be that catalyst for change. If you lean in, listen closely, then you get to hear some things that your systems and programs and policies are missing, and then implement them and then design something better and more impactful for your organization.
I love that. Being willing to say it isn't working and co-design or co-redesign with your people.
Thanks. I don't have much to say. But resistance is the code word for fear in an organization. Right? Resistance is a nice word. We don't actually say what the problem is. The word is fear. The fear of what's going to happen to me tomorrow. The fear of whether I will have this position in the future. The fear of what this technology is going to take away from me. And do I have a path in my career to move forward? So if we really understand the crux of why there is resistance, and this is what I keep saying, we are all comfortable where we are, right? We don't like something coming in. And that's what AI has done, right? It's going to pick out things of any firm and make it easier for the firm to do it without that person. But if we are able to address that position, and that means everything that you've shared, coming down from leadership, very clearly conveying the message that this is important because there is a bigger purpose for the organization, so we need to go through this, otherwise we will lose the battle. How do we communicate this? Communication is key. I think many organizations fail to understand this. We don't just send an email one morning saying we're changing. The moment we do that, we lose half of the people in the organization. How do we communicate that this is going to happen? What are the 5 steps that I would like you as my employee to take in this process, to understand in this process? Open the door, let them come and ask. It's going to be uncomfortable. But as a leader, if you have decided to put this change in place because of the purpose, which you know, if you don't know that, that's a problem, right? Then you know how to answer the question. So leaders who are in this organization should understand that this change leads to this particular this particular answer to the questions that all my employees will have. And once we do that, I think we feel confident. Because what's gone? Fear. Fear is the biggest resistance in organizations, and we sometimes forget it. These are simple words. I'm not all our MBA classes, we have studied so many other words. But if you really look at it, it's fear. And if we attack fear, I think we have answers.
Amazing. Imagine if all of us were hosting sessions at our organizations where we're sitting with our employees in interactive forum to say, with AI, how could we make every single position more value added? How could we use AI to increase our bottom line? Imagine if we were actually doing that in every country, in every company in the UAE, instead of what most organizations have spent the majority of time trying to write policies to control you and how you use it. But imagine if we were actually unleashing with our employees to say, how can we use it to actually improve our competitive edges?
Yeah, Debbie, just to add to that, because this was an example, right? What I told you is an example of a very traditional company in our region who had to take AI because of what was happening in competition. And all the employees have been there for 15, 20, 25 years. And they were asked this question. Okay, we want to put this in place, which means in finance you don't need to do all this because we've got an AI agent who's going to cover this for you. They said, what am my job? Right? And just like you said, there was an open door conference, the leaders came in, the employees came in, they had the conversation, they had confidence to go forward. Again, not easy. Please understand, change is always going to be that wave that we got to take on, right? But this is the reason I'm telling this because this is exactly what happened in this organization.
Amazing, amazing. Now it's going to be your turn. Anybody wrote anything down on their paper? A question. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Salahuddin Mohammadi, Group IT Director for HSC Group. First, I'm so happy to be with you in this fruitful and informative discussion about the hottest subject that we are living. Actually, I have two main concepts during this discussion: the change, and also we have a great bold ideas about change. As I wrote here, change or embrace the change, and this is Mr. Adel bold idea. Aisha said change is the only one constant, and other also bold idea like the change happen from inside. This is the first concept, change. The second concept is transformation. And here I have a confuse between transformation and change. For our experience, what are the similarities and differences between these two concepts, transformation and change? Thank you.
Should I?
Yes, please.
That's actually a great question. Sorry for sounding surprised. I knew it was going to be great. When I've answered this question at board level as well, because they asked me, I've been asked this before. Transformation is more about, if I do something this way, tomorrow I will do it this way. Change is like an umbrella term. It could not be a box, it might be a football, it might be, it might be completely different. But they're very similar, which is why it's confusing. But when you're transforming something, it means you're keeping an existing process, function, an existing journey of something with a start, middle, and end, and you're transforming the way that's done. If you're using AI, for example, or virtual reality training, you have a training session, you bring people in, they wear the goggles or no goggles or whatever, you're in an immersive environment, you're training, and there's an output. So you transform, say if it's chalk and talk, you transform the classroom training experience, you're transforming it into a digital one. And you might be capturing new data points, you'll be doing it differently. That's transformation. But change could be you're no longer being trained. It could be as big as that, or it could be that the content or the subject matter is the only thing that's changed. So although they're very, very similar, and I hope I've explained that okay, change is such a broad umbrella term, but it could mean any change on any level. Transformation is more about transforming an existing thing. Does that?
Thank you.
I can add also something that transformation can be the result of change, and it's deeper than change. So when transformation happens, for example, in an individual, there will be a shift in awareness and perspective. And as a result, the attitude and behavior also will change. So it's, as Deepu said, it starts from inside, and the impact will be outside as well. So in and out process.
And I can understand that change is part of the transformation.
I feel that.
If I can add, I would say that yeah, the change is part of transformation. We need to change so many things to transform something. So the transformation is not happening overnight. Maybe sometimes it's one thing, maybe sometimes it's five things, maybe sometimes 5,000 things, I don't know, on that part of transformation. So at the end results or outcome, we see what we desire to see is transform that.
If you think it from, this may sound funny, but if you think from a diet, you want to change your diet, all right? What's the change? You stop having hamburgers. What's the transformation? You only have cabbage burgers. There's a complete shift in the way you do things. So change is those small steps that will cover into the transformation. You need change to reach that transformation. So think about, if you're changing your diet, how would you do it?
Can I ask what your definition of change and transformation is?
I agree with Mrs. Eshi that change is part of transformation. But if we go deeper to that, the transformation is new future, whereas change is the same current, but with enhancement and development.
Yeah, it's a steps of transformation.
Totally.
Can I add something? Sorry.
One more.
Oh, sorry. Can
Go ahead, go ahead.
Sorry. In the change sort of landscape, there's transitional and transformation as well. So that's just another layer of nuance. Yeah. So again, for me, transformation is when you do something today, you do it differently tomorrow. Transitional is when you're doing it in a different place, in a different area, in a different building, in a different landscape. And it's a bit like AI. AI is actually an umbrella term for machine learning, big data, all of these things are umbrellaed under AI. That's why I keep saying change for me is like the umbrella term for all of those things.
Just have one comment over here.
Hello. I just wanted to add something. I thought maybe, it sounded also complex, and maybe some of us just needed to hear a much simpler, straight to the point differentiation between the two concepts. I think the basic difference between the change and the transformation, especially in organizational contexts, is the scope and the focus. Change would usually have a smaller scope, a smaller focus. It's focused on a specific thing. Maybe you need to change a certain process, or you need to improve a certain process, or you just need to change a certain way something is done. And it's usually not broad in scope. It's, you've seen something, you think it can be better, or you think it's not good enough, and you just change it. But then when you talk about transformation, that's a whole lot of different changes happening at the same time, or happening immediately after the other to achieve the goal.
Very good. One more comment. Right here.
Hello everyone, my name is Hanan, and very happy to be here. Thank you for the insightful panel. I just wanted to comment on change versus transformation. I have a whole chapter in my book, Seeds of Change, about that. And I summarize it as, when we talk about change, it's about the ER, better, bigger. But when we talk about transformation, it's RE. We reinvent, we reimagine. So that's the summary of how I look at it.
Great summary. And visually, one of the visuals that lots of facilitators use is the horse and buggy for transportation. And then Ford did something totally different, because if you had said, how do we improve the horse and buggy, most likely people would have come up with things that you could tinker around the horse and buggy. They may not have come up with the idea of reinventing the product itself. So you're still transferring transportation, but you've truly reinvented it. And what you've asked us is actually one of the most important questions. Because sometimes in organization, we label small incremental changes as transformation, and then we're surprised when we don't get the return on investment that we were thinking. And it's because we didn't reimagine anything. We're just doing the same old thing, just a little bit better. Okay? So another thing I want to say to this gentleman is what an amazing example for taking time out of your busy schedule and showing up at a panel discussion. He had notes and he had coffee. So I encourage you to think. If you leave out of this room today and you don't even have at least one note, we have failed. Because we have not given you one useful thing that you can take to your organization. No matter how many business cards you collect during the networking, sometimes they all end up to zero. So the one thing, if you take anything that's going to develop you as a person, at least you have a sure thing that you're taking away something that you can most likely use to make your business more profitable. So I know you have more questions when we run out of time. So now you have, I'm going to give you a challenge. 1 minute, no longer than a minute. What is your final words for this esteemed group? So we started with Adele. We're going to start on the other side.
Oh, sorry.
We're going to start.
You prepared him for the first question, but you didn't prepare us for this. It's unfair.
No, it's not. You're leaders. Imagine you're in Toastmasters. Speak on the spot. One thing, one closeout.
One thing is everything starts with you. If you are leading a people, they will not change if you don't change. And whatever you're reaching now, always you can do better. So don't lock yourself, being like, that's it. Open your mind, open your eyes. Don't make your ears happy. Seek for new things, learn new things, acquire new ways of doing something. Be example that people really want to be next to you, work with you, and they are smiling not just because they need to fake that, because they know that you want to hear that. Make them smile because they are really happy next to you. So, and the last maybe note will be, yes, people can leave. Everyone is irreplaceable, right? We can replace everyone. But at the end of the day, you cannot grow if you don't have a people behind you. So really make the team that really will have your back. Yeah.
Thank you, Anna. That was a good note to stop at. So you start with self-awareness, which I agree with. So you start with working on yourself, but then as a leader, as an organization, you need to work on your people. And I think that's the lesson, or if it's one takeaway that I would like to give away, is to have a people-centric organization that focuses on creating those employee experiences where your employees can thrive, achieve their best potential, and be able to then be more productive for your bottom line as well. So that would be my takeaway.
Sorry, I just need to add something. I just remembered, sorry. So yeah, one important thing, think about each of your employees. Did I equip them enough so they can be successful in their roles on the way that I'm expecting from them? That's very important. Sometimes we're assuming they know that. Don't assume anything.
All right. Humility, accountability, transparency. As a leader, without humility, you cannot grow, you cannot lead. Without accountability, you cannot tell others to do what you will not do. Without transparency, you cannot be true to each other. That's how you change and you create change.
I need to think about it. Okay, I will repeat because sometimes repetition is also good. So try to co-create the change with your people. Work on the emotional intelligence and compassionate leadership, and also create a safe space for them to be human being during the phase of change. And after that, thank you.
What's left to say? Make sure you hit your targets. Yes. Yeah, don't forget that. The one takeaway, the one key thing, keep learning. Be curious. Like really, don't forget why, don't forget how you got here, all of you. When you got here, you're here now today. And you got here originally because you wanted a career, you had bills to pay, or you had family commitments or no commitments, but you all came here for a reason. You all got to where you are for a reason. Remember the reason and stay curious, keep learning, because life will pass you by. Technology especially, and that's my comfort zone. Technology increases, advances at twice the speed every year. That doesn't mean you have to know everything or learn everything, but if you stay curious, nothing will scare you. Yeah. Have a curious mindset and enjoy it. Enjoy, have a good time, but don't go on a diet.
So a round of applause, please. Aisha, Deepu, Hannah, and Anna. So thanks a lot for leaning in for the conversation, and back to Jenna.
So now we're gonna be heading to a quick 15-minute break. So we'll be back by 5:15, and then we'll be heading to panel 2 after the break. Thank you.
Because this is the first time I've ever had this privilege where, and I'm not going to call them out. Maybe he'll identify. We actually have a wife and husband duo today.
I'm sorry.
So the wife was on the earlier panel, and now we have the husband. And I've never had that before. So can you just imagine the discussions in their house? You know, the kind of things that they talked about at their dinner table, you know, etc.
The stuff you got to do, you know. Like, how did this happen?
So the husband finally spoke.
So this is a really tough way to earn brownie points at home.
So we're still in that age of innovation, but what we're anchoring this afternoon is around out there. If you go and you talk to your employees and they have a little bit of trust, they'll tell you that in the majority of our organizations, employees do not benefit from what we know. I think earlier I said I live in the healthcare space. Just like we know, our patients don't benefit from the majority of what we know. So what the mission is and what ICONS has been all about from the start is just not to have great sessions, you know, like where we feel good, but to actually hopefully inspire you to do one thing different. And the reason why all of us that are involved are so committed is that this is the stuff that actually helps you to make more money. And I grew up in a business environment. My mother was an entrepreneur, and there was not a day go by that she was not serious about making cash. But she did it by loving her customers, by creating loyalty and attracting people, you know, them coming back and back and again. And a part of it, I can remember when I went off to university and I went back, and people would come in to our restaurant saying, "We came for your hug," because of the way she managed the environment. So the stuff that we're talking about is not nice to do. If you create an environment where people want to come to your business, that's how you make money. So that's why we're having this discussion. So this particular team, in a minute, I'm going to have them introduce themselves. So I'm allowing them time to breathe and remember what they were going to say. We're going to talk a little bit about transformation as strategy. We'll drill in more to around integrating tech and customer service or customer experience, and then we'll talk a little about scaling innovation. So we start something, and how do we scale that? Because many of you in the room, or at least some of you in the room, are parts of not just one business, but you are part of groups of businesses. So how can you take the good things and scale it and spread it? So you notice we did as the first panel where they're actually matched to their names, and they have the same assignment, because I want you to lean in and feel like, okay, for the next 30, 40 minutes, I want to listen to these guys. So for you, I want it even more. You notice how I turn and look at the body? I want to start seeing people actually leaning in. Okay? Because you had longer than the first panel to think about what you're going to say. So we're going to hear our panelists introduce themselves. Same thing, one bold idea that they're going to share with you right up off the front. And why should we listen to you? So, ladies first.
The pressure is on. Do I...
Thank you, Debbie. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jessie Abraham. I'm the founder and CEO for Thrive People Solutions. It's an HR consultancy firm based out of Dubai. I'm only 1.5 years old as an infant, as an entrepreneur. My journey, to become an entrepreneur has been very interesting. So on 14th of Feb, 2023, I'm sure you must be remembering 14th of Feb, Valentine's Day. Yeah, that was exactly where I was, self-love. I decided to call it quits from my partner, whose brand value is 8.6 billion US dollars. So who's this partner of mine? My corporate partner, my employer, with whom I was employed for the last 32 years. And start fresh as an entrepreneur. Was it an easy job? Of course not. I was really scared. More than me, it was my family who was really worried, thinking, is Jessie, in her senses? But that really gave me, I would say, the wings to explore, to step out from my comfort zone. And I won't say that I was in my comfort zone, in my corporate life. I worked my way up, started as a trainee in 1991 when Dubai airport had only 6 boarding gates, worked my way up to be the head of training. So as an entrepreneur, I think for me the biggest lesson has been that you will not grow, you will not learn if you don't step out. And trust me, you really don't know what you're capable of until such time that you don't step out from your comfort zone. So one bold thought and one bold idea for me, given my experience and the number of projects that I've worked on, is you don't have to invest in millions or billions to progress. All that you need to invest is in people with the right mindset, people with the right passion, and not necessarily the platforms. Yeah, so thank you so much, and I'm looking forward for the rest of the questions.
Thank you, Jessie.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you so much. My name is Kashif Siddiqui, and my current role is Senior Experience Design Director at Oracle. My role focuses on customer experience transformation. The region I cover is called ECMEA, which is Eastern, Central Europe, Middle East, Africa. It's a large region. But the passion that I have is merging technology, emerging tech with human-centered design to drive real business value. So that's my real passion, is design thinking. And something that will hopefully make you lean in is someone who's been in the IT world with big tech mostly. So previously I was with SAP, with Microsoft, with Salesforce, and now with Oracle. One thing that I've realized in the last 25 years of being in big tech is it is still about the human. It is still about the customer. It is still about the employee. No matter what technology is being proposed, wherever we are within the technology lifecycle, cloud or digital twin or AI or omni-channel, it's still about the human. Humans have been hardwired to understand stories. And I have only seen successful engagements and projects and transformations that have a story built in that resonates with the customer or resonates with the employees. It's not about the tech. You know, Deepu was mentioning previously, you know, a purpose, a process, people, and I would like to add technology is the last thing in there. It's an enabler. It's about the people, the person, and the purpose. And what the umbrella concept that ties it all together is the story, the journey. And if we can provide the journey, the vision to our customers, it will be a huge success. And honestly speaking, I've been in a number of engagements where the customers were bored of the demos, bored of the presentations, but when we did a journey mapping or we showed the vision, the customer was like, this is what I want. I don't care what's behind it. So for me, it's always the vision and the journey. If you have that, you're home. Thank you.
Thank you, Kasha.
Thank you, Patrick. Thanks, Debbie. So, hi everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Mubarak. I'm the IT director at a group called Distinguished Real Estate, based here in Dubai. I've had many years of experience in leadership roles as an IT director, the head of IT for real estate development groups, family holding groups, multinationals as well. So I think that in this day and age, we were talking about entrepreneurship, we were talking about innovation. These are very, very important concepts and very important topics, very apt. The speed of change in technology and institutions, probably, you know, and I've been saying this for a number of years, but it's moving at an exponential rate right now. A lot of new ideas. So, I mean, having that innovation culture in your organization and having that the structures to enable innovation is very important. That feeds also very directly into the entrepreneurial ecosystem that exists, because a lot of ideas, a lot of innovation is being generated from these tech startups, these companies. So you not only have to have that infrastructure in place in your company, but you also have to be able to reach out and bring that innovation from those startups back into your organization. So I think this is a very important topic in this day and age. Look forward to spending the rest of the time discussing this with the rest of the panelists. And Debbie, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ahmed Atiyah. I've been working in the healthcare supply chain for the past 2 decades. I'm currently working with the Zahrawi group, covering the GCC countries, and my whole career was focused basically on healthcare in the supply chain function all the time, most of the time. One of the bold ideas that I was preparing, but then I changed my mind after I've seen the first panel and the talks of my colleagues. It's about the human factor and the change. Basically, the human factor is the seed of any change. So we have to embrace this, and we have to convince. So the buy-in is the bold idea. Once your people bought your idea, once people believe in the change, because the first question comes into our mind as humans is, what's in it for me? So you have to sell it and provide the buy-in for your people, and definitely they will make the change and the transformation.
So thank you, Ahmed, Mubarak, Kasha, Jesse. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, so we got a freebie. Let's start off with a freebie. Remember the brief, Jesse. Dubai is considered a global innovation hotspot. Almost every day we read stats about how many people are just running to Dubai, and then of course some of us are ending up in other Emirates as well. So given Dubai's ambitious and rapid development, what are the biggest opportunities and blind spots for entrepreneurs and tech leaders in this ecosystem? So when you look at the leaders out in the audience, what are some of the things that maybe opportunities or blind spots. And when we talk about blind spots, we're thinking the holes that they can drop in. So what sort of advice, what are some of the things you'll share with the group who are operating in Dubai? And I think we have some people from Abu Dhabi as well.
So I can start here, thanks Jesse. So I did some research, I did a research project on the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the Middle East, and especially Dubai, and I compared it with countries around the Middle East. It was part of a master's degree project at Cambridge University I was doing. And what we found is, and I was doing this with Dubai Silicon Oasis, is that it built the pillars necessary for a successful ecosystem. So if you look at Silicon Valley in America, for example, they have multiple pillars that enable the startup ecosystem to be successful. So they have the business infrastructure, so you know the offices, the legal services. They have the regulatory frameworks that support the startups. You know, these are companies that have a high probability of success. So you need to be able to manage failures and bankruptcies, and they have access to capital, venture capital, seed capital, angel capital. And they have access to a talent pool as well. So it's not. So this is what makes a successful ecosystem, and Dubai has done that more successfully than any other city, or and UAE has done that more successfully than any other country in the Middle East. It is the most successful. Because it scores very highly on all of these factors. And so I think they've done a very commendable job here. They've built that environment, and if you look at all these accelerators and you look at all these free zones, there's a lot of initiatives going on supporting the tech startup system. Yeah, obviously, you know, there's always more work to be done, so you have to be aware of regulations in the country. You have to be aware of funding and financing and what your runway will be. So before you start a business, you need to know your plan as to how much money you're going to need and when you're going to need further funding, and you need to be able to tap into the right sources. So you know, other, I would say, ecosystems have, you know, are a lot stronger with seed investment. Here, probably more at venture capital level. But overall, it's done a fantastic job.
Thanks a lot.
Sure. Thank you, Mubarak. As I told you, I've just been 1.5 years as an entrepreneur. So when I switched from the corporate job and I wanted to embark on this journey, I did a lot of research, a lot of reading. What does it really mean to be a free zone? Because I've been a corporate, employee for a very long time. And what does it really take for you to be an entrepreneur? So I did my research, did a lot of phone calls. I didn't actually have a business startup company to support me. All that I did was walk into the Dubai Economic Department in Dubai Mall. It took me less than 3 minutes. Submitted the documents, made the payment, and I had my license ready on my WhatsApp. Now that is the speed at which Dubai is operating. Very impressive. And I'm also part of Dubai Chambers, Dubai Business Women Council. Now very recently I was onboarded as part of the Sharjah Entrepreneurship Center as an expert in residence. And I'm so overwhelmed by the way the government, the nation is actually investing on entrepreneurs and making sure that things are made so easy, whether be it infrastructure, whether be it, the other day I actually traveled to Sharjah, which is the Sharjah Entrepreneurship Center. They have valet parking for entrepreneurs. Why? Because time is so precious. And I was like, wow, I've never seen that. So what I'm trying to say is that there are absolute, I would say it's quite overwhelming to know the kind of investment, the infrastructure, the ecosystem that the government is actually, positioning itself when it comes to startups and incubators. Now the blind spot, Debbie, you asked the question in terms of what are the blind spots. So as much as we think that, we are really moving at the speed of Ferrari, but it might be an illusion of progress. Because I do hear that from quite a lot of my ex-colleagues or my friends who are in different industries. They say, we know that the city is progressing, but we are still catching up. We don't know whether we will be able to reach or not. So to share with you a very good example is, so I was just speaking to one of my ex-colleagues, and he said, Jesse, I'm really happy that I got approval for 10 extra headcount. And I said, wow, that's really impressive. I said, 10 extra headcount in today's time and age, you think, what about AI? What about automation? What about, efficiency? And he said, Jesse, it's much better for me to, or much more easier for me to get the approval for 10 extra headcount than actually, get the approval for some technology to support or drive efficiency. So yes, the blind spot is, as much as we want to, run or sprint, but there are also bureaucracy that holds us back. Decision makers, they really don't know where they stand. So that is also another blind spot. So it's all about how do you create that environment where decision makers are comfortable to make those decisions, because they have to see it, right, for them to believe it. And that's how we will be able to create that collective change to progress. Thank you.
So I want to capture something, because what Jessie just said, she gave us two amazing examples. One to follow, one not to follow. They're both value-based. So at the center in Sharjah, the value is we respect entrepreneurs and their time. The behavior, the way it shows up is we provide free valet parking. So their behavior is aligned with their value. That other organization, I don't know the name, thank God, that organization, I bet if we went to their website, they would talk about their business plan, and most likely they have their growth stuff published and how they value people, and they're going to be the best company in today's environment. Behind the scenes, what are they showing up as? All the technology to enable, to help people. So you're going to hire 10 people, but you're not going to give them any resources. I think it was Hannah that talked about the responsibility of leadership is to equip your people. So that company most likely is going, their behavior is the opposite of their value. So your reflection point, when you think about your scope of leadership or your organization, do you show up as your value, or do you talk a good game and you're living in the dark ages? And then your board is surprised when you're not hitting your target. So that is a huge pearl. Thank you for talking that. Thank you. Okay? Kashin.
Well, yeah, I was just going to add one thing about Dubai is, honestly, we are very lucky to be witnessing what's happening in Dubai and the UAE. I mean, we're really, I mean, it's right now the dynamism, the pioneering spirit. I mean, this is something that is unseen around the world, to be quite honest. And one thing that I want to point out is, as someone who's implemented and sold a lot of software in the last 25 years, one of the things that we would push is best practices. This software is running, it's part, the processes are best practices. But what Dubai has done is change the game. It's not about best practices anymore, it's about next practices. Dubai is all about innovation. Dubai is all about doing things in a way that is unique to Dubai and the UAE. Because honestly speaking, what works in Finland, Singapore, and San Francisco does not necessarily work in Fujairah, Sharjah, and Abu Dhabi. So one thing that we have to keep in mind is, and this could be a potential blind spot, is what works somewhere else may not necessarily work over here. Dubai is setting and UAE is setting the trend when it comes to next practices, and we should be cognizant of that and really along the way make sure that bring in certain things that we shouldn't forget, like ethics and looking at the environment that we're operating in as well. The UAE is an extremely dynamic and culturally diverse environment. Factor those in as you are building your organization, building your teams, etc. But really, it's all about next practices, and the UAE has set the trend when it comes to that.
I love that. Next practice. And that those entrepreneurs and business owners in Dubai who are not embracing it, we can collect data every day. You go to the mall, you go to the apps like Deliveroo, etc. Those are the organizations, when you search for them, it says closed. Or you go to the mall and a store that you used to go, it's all prettied up, because you know we close things beautifully here. It's all pretty up and it says stay tuned, next steps. That's data about the number of people who've stepped into business and they are refusing to actually access the resources we have in the UAE to help you be a successful entrepreneur. So they do business as the Dark Ages. I'm going to use Jesse. And then when we walk by their store, it's closed. So just because we're in the ecosystem doesn't mean we're going to be successful. We actually have to do the stuff. That's why we're here today. Okay, so we're going to go to the next question. Still, let's go to failure. And as we were talking in preparation, we explored the idea that failure is feedback. So can you share a time when an innovative or innovation initiative didn't go as planned? And what was the biggest learning? And then how did you pivot, either you or the clients you work with?
If you allow me, I'll start with the failures. So, I think now the predictive analytics for the stock and the things are becoming pretty normal. So a few years back, we designed a certain model with the help of our IT team to have a predictive analytics system that can tell us where is our reorder point, when this is going to happen, how to optimize our inventory, and to look up into our sales for the past 12 months. So this is pretty much the parameters that anyone utilizing to whether to purchase or not. Since we are not talking about seasonal items, that's not food or something like that. So it's pretty challenging. I don't want to go deeper in that, but we design it, we look forward, and then we implement it. Suddenly, we discovered that there is something wrong because the system is taking, simple thing, it's taking an average of the past 12 months. However, it didn't consider the seasonality. Yeah, I know this is nowadays is pretty embedded in any iPhone, but I'm talking about a few years back where this was a pretty large innovation. So, like Newton, we ran out of the meeting room after a very tough discussion with so many people, and we found it. We just need to embed the trigger of the seasonality. But unfortunately, we didn't find it again. That we ended up with another trigger that we couldn't locate. So, end of the story is we had to utilize the human logic. At the end, the system will give you the parameters, the real tools as an enabler, like many of the people said, to make up your choice. So the dream was to have a fully automated system that have no human interference, but the best outcome came with a human interference as an enabler for this. So yeah, that was one of the failures that I went through.
So the aha moment, it's technology enabler rather than technology. It's not always the answer for everything.
Yeah, we are very, much enthusiastic about technology that will to take over the whole thing, and then we are sitting at home and the orders is going to the suppliers and following up itself, and the goods are received in the place. So this is what we are, So we don't work, but yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Mubarak, anything to add?
Yes, I think just more on a generic level now in terms of failure. So technology is not deployed for the sake of technology. There has to be a business outcome. So one of the main causes I've seen of failures is that when there's a disconnect between business and IT, and that can be deploying any kind of application where maybe business is not engaged or maybe the requirements are not as well understood. And then applications are deployed, and then what you have is you have either applications that are not fit for purpose, or you have businesses who are not utilizing the applications, and that's quite a common theme, and that happens all the time. So my only sort of suggestions will be that we're talking about AI, we're talking about innovation. It's not one department. And that doesn't mean if it's IT or sales or finance or marketing or whoever. It's not one department or one person who drives innovation in an organization. It should be a collaborative effort. There should be stakeholders who are identified and engaged. Input should be taken from all parties, and input should also be taken from parties outside of your core circle, just to bring in different perspectives. And you need to really brainstorm, you really need to ideate. You shouldn't be going there in terms of innovation, always looking for a solution in hand, a fixed, finite solution. You should be open to suggestions, open to ways of working, open to solutions. And then the solution will present itself in one of your many brainstorming sessions, and then you will then design an agile methodology of deploying a minimal viable product, and you should iterate on that. Don't go for the big bang, don't go for the huge innovation that's going to rapidly change your organization. Just look to innovate in an agile method, in chunks that are achievable, and then iterate and reiterate on the actual product itself.
Absolutely. And I mean, related to this, actually, when you mentioned failures, I was thinking, how much time do we have? I can list a lot of failures. The fact that I went to 3 medical schools and somehow ended up in the IT industry. But that's another story for another time. The thing is that in the same field of IT, in the sales side, we are selling to large customers, small customers, and oftentimes a demo is sufficient. So I'll give you an aha moment, as Oprah would say. We were selling to this large transportation company in the region. We had done a number of demos, number of presentations. We really presented the best solution possible to this organization. We had all the senior managers there in every single demo. All the leadership team was present, but somehow they didn't pull the trigger. As a last-ditch effort, we decided to change course a little bit, and we asked them, who are your customers? What are you trying to achieve? What is your corporate strategy? What is your brand strategy? And then we went ahead and created a journey. We did a customer experience journey mapping workshop. This is a half-day workshop. It's something that is so simple yet powerful. We carried out the customer experience journey mapping. We did the as-is, and then we created the to-be journey. And when we created the to-be journey, we did it alongside with the senior leadership team of that company. And they were like, this is exactly what we need. We don't care what tech is running behind it. We don't care what is behind it. Give us this vision. So for me, that was an aha moment that I carry on to this day. Well, is always start with the vision, always start with the journey. It's not about the technology, it's not about the solution, it's about being empathetic. The solution is not the key, it's the empathy. Human beings, we all make decisions emotionally. We are emotional creatures. And if you understand the 2 types of emotions that are driving them, the functional as well as the more, I would say, the what's the word I'm looking for? We have the functional, I need to get from point A to point B, and then you have the real heart-driven emotions that they have, which really tug at the heartstrings. If you understand that within a hiring manager or a decision maker, you are able to sell them exactly what they want. So understand the emotions that are driving the decision. And the best way to do that is design thinking, incorporating that within the sales process. So for me, that was a major aha moment, which I carry on to this day.
Thank you, Ashik. I have a very close association with failure. Okay, I have been working, as you all know, for almost 3 decades. I've been involved in quite a lot of projects. At the very beginning of the projects, I get that gut feeling whether this project is going to be a success story or it's going to be a failure. So I'm going to share with you one very recent, not so great story, but when we kind of flipped the script and turned it around. There was an HCM module that was introduced to our organization. Okay, there was a big bang kickoff meeting, everyone was excited, millions of dollars being invested, and after a couple of weeks, and I know that we have IT gentlemen over here, IT team over here, and it was definitely a very big bang, showcase that we are moving into digitalization, more modern ways of working, efficiency, all of those things. A couple of weeks down the line, change of leadership, CEO changes, that is within our organization. As we all know, when leadership changes, there's also changes to the next level and to the next level. Decision making also changes. As much as the new leadership believed or they knew about this particular new module, there was no buy-in because they were not part of the process right from the beginning, right? It went with the flow. Fast forward, couple of weeks, couple of months, the project just didn't take off. The first module was a failure, the second module was a failure, and I was the head of HRBP and I was responsible for performance management. And 10,000 employees, performance management, there was no way that I was actually going to ask my team to go back to old ways of working, okay? To start using Excel or to start using Formula to build on, this performance management system. What did I do? I didn't have any other choice, okay? I started looking around. System is not happening, and maybe it will not happen for a couple of months or years, I don't know, but I have to fix it. Got in touch with procurement. I asked them what are the different tools that they have, what are the different applications that they have at an enterprise level, what is available, what is not. Did a little bit of research on my own with my team and found that there is a solution, there's a tool, which is called Smartsheet solution. And we had a corporate license for that, an enterprise license for that. Figured it out, long story short, we came up with an innovative solution. And this particular innovative solution was able to help us with a data-driven performance management system catering to 10,000 employees, which we were able to complete within 45 days, and we had a completion rate of 98%. Today, Smartsheet Solution has actually published this as a case study on their website. So the point what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we force ourselves, we direct all our energy towards the best of the best system, to the best of the best technology, to the best of the best intent. Don't get me wrong, the intention is always good, yeah? But sometimes you have to just look around, you have to be a little resourceful, you have to have your, like the previous panel actually mentioned about be curious, I think it was Adil who mentioned be curious. Okay, you have to just look around and try and figure out what is really available within the organization that we can leverage off. So that was my experience. Thank you.
Thank you. I love that. The first didn't work. She dug deep. And guess what? They had something that they'd already purchased that nobody most likely was using effectively. So she pivoted, found a solution, and can keep the team moving forward. So I'm going to skip one of the questions to go to the area of when legacy systems fight back. So Kashif and Ahmed, can you describe a real moment when old systems blocked an innovation and what you did or the leadership team do to enable the change? So we're bringing in new systems and we're really not paying attention to some of the systems we have in place.
So this is I think takes us back to the change point. That the legacy system, it's easier for the people. I got used to it. I already know the in and outs of the system. I don't need something sophisticated or something that is slower, even if it drives a better efficiency. I remember a couple of things that I try to change. Like for example, the legacy system was to have the proof of delivery is stored in a certain way and followed up through the random Excel sheets and stuff like that. So we integrated some module to our system, but again the buy-in from the team was not there because it's easier on Excel. I drag it, I forward it, I paste it, and these kind of things. So, but the essence of the story was that it saves you a lot when you search back. it's easier for others to retrieve the information, so they don't ask you. So there is another moral of the story to have a better outcome for the situation. So yes, it did block the innovation for a while, and then we had to apply which I believe that one of the good strategies for change, to drive the change, which is the CER. It's convince, enforce, and then replace. And I'm talking here, it's both ways. And if the management are unable to implement something, the management has to step out. Or the team is unable to adapt with the new technologies, the team has to be replaced. So it goes both ways to ensure that you have an idea that you want to implement. So that's one of the things that I think that it blocked it, but eventually it worked, and it's working fine now.
Very good. So the lesson, when you bring in the new, be very intentional about how you're going to remove the old.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean that's a great lesson. I'll just add. So back in the good old days, 2009, 2010, we were based in Singapore, and I was working for a cloud-only vendor. And we were focused, and we were really keen on bringing in cloud into the public sector because that's a huge industry and a huge market. And of course, as you can imagine, the public sector, especially back then, was resistant to change. They had legacy systems that they were using, and we were trying really hard. Even management was trying really hard to incorporate the cloud solutions for their customer service team within this organization. We were failing. It just wasn't going. None of the users were interested. The demos weren't going well, and the management was ready to throw in the towel and tell us, we're going to stick to the legacy systems instead of the cloud solution. Maybe it's just too advanced for us. So one thing that I did was I understood the audience. Who was the audience? The customer service team at that healthcare organization in Singapore was comprised of entirely, what we call them in Singapore, aunties. These aunties were resistant to change. They liked their old systems. So instead of selling them the brand new fancy stuff, the nice screens, etc., we said maybe they just need a little bit more confidence. So what we did was we brought in 10 to 12 laptops. We didn't call it a demo. We termed it a training session or an enablement session. We went ahead and gave them environments, trial environments. We had notebooks. We even, had boards with, we were doing the training. We were writing down all the steps, etc. And basically, we converted that demo into an enablement and a training, and really helped them. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and create a case. Oh, you did an amazing job creating a case. That's fantastic. And these aunties were like competing with each other. Oh, who can do the case? Who can create a contact? Who can, create a knowledge-based article? And they were having a fun field day, doing simple tasks within the customer service application. After that, of course, it was no surprise. They were extremely excited with adopting the solution. They were happy. They were using it. They had the confidence to use it. They had the training, the enablement. So we turned that demo into a training session. And to this day, they've been using it successfully. And it's one of our largest public sector customers in Singapore using the cloud customer service solution. And they've been using it for the past 15 years. So it's about knowing the audience and adapting your way in terms of how to really understand what drives them.
He engaged the aunties. I love that expression. So before I ask the next question, any questions from the audience? I didn't pre-warn you this time, hey? Did I do a bad thing?
No.
Okay. Any questions? Even any comments? Any feedback? So I'm a teacher. I taught nursing school before I migrated to the US. And so sometimes I go into a nursing mode or a teacher mode, and I look for excited faces. So And I hope I don't pick the wrong person. But you look like you have a comment. You're sitting straight up, you're smiling. Come on, there is something going on there.
Yeah, there is.
See?
I was really
Give her a microphone. She's
I'll burst in the soul.
that's later. You're really good.
I was really interested in the CER analogy that Ahmed made. And when you said that, I thought that there's, based on what Jesse had said earlier, I almost think there's a preceding step somewhere, because it's like early engagement with those who are going to use, and that ownership piece is you're going to get more engagement at an early stage if the users have ownership and are truly engaged. That was, so whether CER, maybe it should be OCER, I don't know, but they should be, but it just kind of struck me, it's like, otherwise, I mean, there's an old analogy, a change imposed is a change opposed. And what is the reason why people oppose change? And invariably, is it fear? You know, what does it mean? I think we said earlier on, what does it mean for me? You know, so if there is efficiency, then there is a risk that people are going to lose their job. And so are they going to deliberately scupper attempts to bring on technology for that reason? But then if they're engaged at a very early stage, they can see and understand the benefits, and then, you know, they take that ownership.
You are talking about most important thing here. Contacts in UAE, most important thing ever. And every candidate and employees in all our companies need to be feeling some safe finding jobs. This phase I was passing not too much long time. So contacting and leaders must do that contact between employees, between everything, right? And that's what maybe make me meet my boss. Yeah, that's it. So it's important to make contacts and networks between every employees and between every candidate. That's it.
And I love the way. Go ahead.
I'm an old school guy, so I believe still in the human factor, that you need to invest in human. Technology is all good, but human come first. I believe in that.
And what we're learning, even in the midst of all the technology and the amazing ecosystem in Dubai, that's the thing that we have to remember. Because the companies that go out of business are the ones that have focused on the technology and not how that technology is being used by humans. So Jana has been giving me signals, and I'm enjoying this, but all good things sometimes have to be closed out. So I'm going to do something bad, so warning you. The last question was, I was given to Mubarak and Jesse, but I'm going to use it as the last question for everyone. So they will talk first to give the other two a time to think about it. So it's what we talked about in our pre-discussion around the next frontier in Dubai. So what do you think will be the next disruptive force in Dubai's startup and tech landscape over the next 12 to 18 months? Because whatever is happening, it eventually feeds into all of our organizations, right? So Jesse and Mubarak, you go first, and then I'm going to invite Kashif and Ahmed to lean in as well.
Thank you, Mubarak. Thank you, Debbie, for this question. So I'm going to kind of relate it to service industry, because I have been part of the service industry for a very long time. So I very strongly believe that the biggest disruptor when it comes to what we're experiencing today is going to be the intersection between artificial intelligence and hyper-personalization when it comes to service. And we all know that Dubai is all about tourism industry. Dubai is contributing to 237 billion dirhams when it comes to the overall, GDP. Now, what does that really mean from, say, for example, all of us? It would also mean that preempting and understanding what are the customer's needs, as much as we have the analytics, we have the data, we have all the necessary information about the customers, but it's also giving them personalized service. So whether you're part of the tourism industry, or whether you're part of hospitality, or whether you're part of healthcare, okay? It's all about, as an individual, what are the ways by which you can take service to the next level. And let me tell you one thing. I think that we are spoiled when it comes to customer service here in Dubai, in UAE. I have just returned from a holiday from a developed country, and I was like, I'm really missing Dubai for the service that I enjoy over here, for the personalization that I enjoy over here. So I feel the biggest disruptor is going to be, how do you integrate AI? Of course, it's all about smart solution, and it's all about efficiency when it comes to AI, but how do you use AI to give that service to the next level? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, just following up on what Jesse's saying. So everybody's hearing it everywhere, and I also believe as well AI will fundamentally transform industries. We are moving to a very interesting time, an inflection point where we may be moving towards artificial general intelligence, something I find quite exciting. And then what does that mean when we move there? So that's an area where you have to then understand that machines will be capable of acting cognitively similar to humans and be able to carry out all the activities of a human. And I was in a presentation yesterday where we had chatbots speaking in a very humane way, and then they were carrying out tasks. Agentic AI agents were carrying out tasks. So were you talking to a person, or were you talking to artificial intelligence doing the job as a person? So it's interesting, very interesting where it's going. But this is also why I believe it's very, very important to have an innovation culture within the organization. The ability to horizon scan. Yes, you have AI, and you have edtech and proptech and fintech, and there's a fantastic level of technology coming out of the startup ecosystem. But you need to be able to tap into that. You need to have a culture, you need to have mechanisms where people feel comfortable to be able to tap into that ecosystem and tap into these technologies. So I think that as a company, they should be really, this is the time of embedding innovation systems and cultures and structures within an organization to be able to tap into these new technologies.
Thanks a lot. So getting the signal. Yeah. So
I'll just be quick. I mean, it's very hard to look beyond AI. Where is AI headed? I mean, right now we're in the era of agentic AI, right? Agentic AI agents. So obviously, agentic AI and AI itself is looking at a lot of data. It's looking at it's incorporating predictive analytics when it comes to the tasks it carries out. But what I think the future lies in is not just predictive analytics, but predictive empathy. When agents are interacting with humans, it's not just about tasks, it's about tasks with empathy. So for example, if Sarah is an elderly lady who is not feeling well and is interacting with her healthcare agentic AI agent, the agent will be able to ascertain her mood, what she's gone through, her feelings, where she is right now. Is she depressed? Is she anxious? And then the tone of voice of the agent will change. What it's recommending will change. It will be empathetic. And I think it's really important for us to elevate the AI game to incorporate empathy. And one of the things that I would again recommend is look at design thinking, look at journey mapping, and that really helps us understand how we can bring in empathy with our customer engagements.
you have the last word.
Yeah, that's you're putting a lot on me, but let me try to be as brief as possible. I think 12 to 18 months is a very short span of time. So this transformation and disruptive transformation is already happening, which is, I think, in everyone in this room's mobile, which is a GPT or a certain agent for AI. And I think what I hope so that to have AI more in my line of duty, where healthcare is a very essential cornerstone for us as humans. Are we going to trust the AI? Is it going to perform? Maybe me, because I'm in the industry, I have few insights. That is already, there are certain developments that is happening in the background, but it's not officially announced yet to the public sector. But I think this is a challenge from that could happen in the next 12 to 18 months, AI in healthcare. And my question to everyone, and I will end up with an open-end question because this doesn't have an answer. So, are you willing to take a diagnosis from a computer?
So, I love ending on a question because I'm on the provider side, right? But those of you that are entering healthcare organizations, and I'm going to ask that question. Do you believe that AI is already informing your plans of care when you go to physicians today?
Yes.
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 So let's round of applause for thank you for the chance to play, and back to Ms. Jen.
Thank you, Thank you so much.
So now that we're done with panel 2, we're going to be moving to our last and final segment, which is the Trophy Distribution Award. And I just wanted to say that this brings us to the end of Season 1 of Innovate Conversate podcast, and we're going to be heading to Season 2, which is going to be more personal and more specific rather than just generic topics. So once again, I would like to thank our guests who were with us on Season 1, and to our listeners who tuned in the podcast and shared their feedbacks and their thoughts. So for the second segment, I want to invite our Executive Director, Mr. Ismail Shamas, to join me on stage for the trophy distribution. So starting first with Mr. Ajay Prasad. Mr. Adil. Ms. Debbie. Mr. Deepu. Ms. Aisha. Mr. Talib. Ms. Hannah. Ms. Jessie. Thank you. Mr. Cassius. Mr. Mubarak. Ms. Monica. Mr. Ahmad. Mr. Suraj. Mr. Buber. And last but not least, Mr. Ismail.
Thank you everyone for being here today, and I believe what we are doing is something, it's not unique but special to have all these faces all together, different background, different people from coming from Abu Dhabi to Dubai. And special thanks for Hussein Bahraini for coming all the way from Oman. When we have people coming and committing to come to the event, that means we have done something impactful. We are a company which we sell software, but we don't like only selling software. We like to show that market is not about only selling, not about if you want trading something, you meet people. We meet everybody just to build connections, and we met a lot of new people today. And as Jana said, that we are launching the season 2. Season 2 will be more than educational, because the first season we talk about a lot of subjects, which goes from education perspective. We are talking about processes, we spoke about AI and other things, but based on that of feedback we got from the market, we are launching season 2 to talk about success stories. It's individual success stories or organizational success stories, which is people they can resonate for, and we have to motivate entrepreneurs, right? So entrepreneurs, they need somebody to give them ideas, they give somebody to show them how they succeed, and here where we go. Thank you again, and if anybody has any idea, if anybody wants to be part of our podcast in the future, I think Jana, she shared already the email. Please send us a small email. We can connect, we can discuss. If you have ideas, also send us the ideas. You are welcome to, because we don't develop if we don't listen. And thank you.